Yeah, so this week is Parashas Zachor, but we'll begin with the Bavos the Gemara that Rava says Chayiv inish lefsumi bepuria ad de lo yoda bein or Haman leborach Mordechai. Now, obviously, since the Mechayiv of the lefsumi is the fact that Mordechai was blessed and Haman was cursed, so it must be that coming to a point where you don't know Bain or Haman leborach Mordechai actually brings out the the greatness of the Nes Purim, that Baruch Mordechai and Or Haman. But that obviously needs to be explained. Why is it that the proper way to tap into the Baruch Mordechai and the Or Haman is through coming to a point where it's Lo Yoda Bain Or Haman leborach Mordechai. You know, the Rambam in the Sefer HaMitzvahs, in the mitzvah, writes, "V'hamitzvah hakuf peiches, hisha tzivonu lahachris zera Amalek levad mishar zera Esav. Zachorim unekevis k'tanim ugdolim. V'amora Yisala, timche zeicha Amalek." So the Lashon Rambam seems to be seems to show that this doesn't really begin with Amalek himself, but it begins with Esav and his offspring. It's that the Torah tells us that only Zera Amalek levad mi shar Zera Esav have to be eradicated. I mean, the pasuk says, "Zachor she'asalacha Amalek b'derech b'tzeischem mitzrayim." I mean, the issue that we have with Amalek, l'chayra, starts and ends with Amalek. How does Esav have anything to do with this? And why would the Rambam say that tzivanu lahachriz zera Amalek levad mishar zera Esav? Vayovay Amalek vayilochem im Yisrael b'refidim, says the Targum Yonason ben Azil, va'asa Amalek mi'ara deroima, yeah, etc. Umin biglal matzusa, the hava beinei Esav ubeinei Yaakov, because of the machloikis that there was once upon a time between Esav and Yaakov. Also, he came va'agach krova im Yisrael b'refidim, and he conducted a war against Yisrael b'refidim. In the Targum on Shir Hashirim, in Kapitel Beis, Pasuk Tesvav, on the Pasuk Echezu Lonu Shu'olim Ktanim Mechablim Kromim, the Targum says, Bosar da Avaru Yasyama, after Klal Yisrael crossed the Yamsuf, etc. V'osa Aleihain Amalek Rishia, Amalek the Russia came towards them, Dinetar lahoin devavu. He still held a grudge. Machloikis al esek becheirusa ubirchasa, because of the bechora and the brachas. The shokal Yaakov avuna min Esav, that Yaakov Avinu took from Esav. So we see that Amalek standing up against Klal Yisrael was because of the sinner of Esav to Yaakov that was from all the way back from the beginning. So this l'chara explains why the Rambam says shetzivanu lahachriz zera Amalek levadoi mishar zera Esav, because since Amalek levadoi is the one that continued the sinner of Esav to Yaakov, therefore only he mishar zera Esav is the one that we were nitztava to be moiches shmoi. We find the same thing as far as Haman ben Hamdasa ha'agogi. In the Piyut of Asher Heini, we say Haman hoidia evas avoisav v'oirer sinas achim lebonim. So just like Amalek in his time, Haman in his time, he's coming mikoyach the evas avoisav, and it's the sinas achim that causes Haman to do what he's doing. It says in Esther Gimel Vov, it says, "Vayivez be'einav l'shloyach yad b'Mordechai levadoi ki higidu lo yas'am Mordechai." So the Targum says, "V'havochoich kodamoy la'ishoto yedoi lemiktor yas Mordechai bilchudohi." Yeah, it was a small. It was beneath him to deal with Mordechai himself. Arum chaviule, because he was told the Mordechai osi min Yaakov, the shokal min Esav abed avui, who took from Esav his forefather, the abed avui the Haman yas b'choiroso v'yas b'choso v'Yehudoi inun ame the Mordechai. So we see that the machshavas Haman Harosha was also rooted in the Asik of the Bechorah and the Bracha that Yaakov took from Esav. The Chinuch in Mitzvah Tov Reish Gimel says Shenitztavinu lizkor masha osa Amalek liyisrael, etc. Ve'elaschira azois bepeh u'belev lo yodanu bozman kavua b'shana or b'yoyim. We don't know when this should take place. K'moishin itztavinu b'zchiras yitzias Mitzrayim b'chol yoyim u'b'chol layla. V'atam zchiras yitzias Mitzrayim is more important. Ki b'zchira hi ikar adas u'k'moishin rechavnu adibur al zeh b'harba mekoyim es b'sifri. Aval tam zechiras masha osa Amalek einoi ela sheloi tishochach sin osoi milibeinu v'day lanu bazeh lizkar ha'inyan pam achas b'shona or shtei shonim v'sholosh. Once a year or 2 years or 3 years. V'hinei b'chol mekoymes Yisrael korim sefer HaTorah b'shona achas b'shtayim or sholosh l'chol ha'pachas. Because in Marova they completed the Torah, the full cycle, once in 3 years. V'hinei heim yoitzim b'kach mitzvah zoi. V'ulai noimar ki min hogan shel Yisrael likroisa b'shabes miyuchedes b'chol shona Torah. Our minig to lane, mentioned already in Megillah. Yeah, to lane Parashas Zachor every year before Purim is because of this. And when pnei mitzvah zu, he shekavu came. V'hu hashabbos shelefnei Purim la'olam. We always read it the Shabbos before Purim. V'din yiyeh likroisa b'yom HaPurim. Really, we should be laning the parasha of Zechiras Amalek on Purim itself. L'fi shehu mi'in yonoi shel yoim. Ki haman harosha hoya mizaroi. Haman harosha is mizar Amalek. In order that we should know that before the Nes Purim, we were already commanded to remember Amalek kavu aparsha koidim Purim. Aval samchu al Purim al derech masha amru zechronim levracha b'mekoymos samchoy inyan loy. So again, we see in the chinuch that the Maisa of Haman connects with the Maisa of Amalek. It's samchoy inyan loy. When Azay steht in Pasuk, Vayoyim Hashem al Moshe ksoiv zoi zikorim basefer v'sim ba'ozne Yeshua ki mochoi emche zeche Amalek mitachas hashamayim. The Gemara in Megillah Daf Zayin says, Sholcha lohem Esther l'chachamim kisvuni l'doris. She asked that they should write the story of Esther l'doris, the Megillah Esther, and they weren't ready to do so, as the Gemara says. Until they found a pasuk that alludes to this inyan, because it says ksoiv zois zikaron basefer, and they darshan ksoiv zois mashikosov kana with Mishnah Torah. That the ksoiv zois is the Parashas Amalek that appears in Beshalach and in Kiseitze, and zikaron mashikosov b'Neviim in Shmuel in this week's Haftarah. Basefer mashikosov b'Megillah. So we see once again that what happened on Purim is shaykh to the ongoing Mulchama Hashem ba'Amalek midor dor, and that's what we see, that the Mulchama of Amalek with Yisrael b'Refidim, and the Machsheves Haman ben Hamdoso ha'agogi that was Choshav ala Yehudim la'Abdam, they both come from the same source, and they're based on the sinna of Esav to Yaakov for taking the Bechorah and the Brachas. Now, the pasuk says, "Vayavoy Amalek, vayilachem im Yisrael b'Refidim." In the Mechilta it says, "Amar Reb Chananya b'davar hazeh, hadavar hazeh shoalti es Rabbi Elazar, sheyoyishiv b'mesifta Rabba, Refidim mahu, Amalek mashmoy." It's a place. Acherim oimrim ein Refidim elo rifyoin yodayim, lefi sherofu Yisrael yedeihem midivrei Torah, lokach bo soinei aleim. Lefi she'ein asoynei bo elo al rifyon yodayim in Torah. Now, since the pasuk uses the word refidim and Chazal interpreted as rafu yedehem midivrei Torah, we obviously see we're not talking about bittul Torah in the simple sense of the word, but rifyon yodayim, which means, how would you say rifyon yodayim? Rifyon yodayim means, a lack of, not holding on tight. I mean, not taking things into your hands in a full-fledged way. In other words, there was a lack in their connection to Torah, and this needs to be explained. The pasuk says, "Vayikro shem hamokim ahu shem hamokim masa umeriva al riv b'nei Yisrael v'al masoisom es Hashem leimer hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im oyin." Vayovay Amalek vayilochem im Yisrael b'refidim. So Rashi says, "Vayovay Amalek samach Parashas zu lemikra zeh." The hemshech apsukim, Rashi says, is loymar. Tamid ani beinechem. I'm always amongst you. U mezumen l'chol tzorchechem. I'm prepared and ready to take care of you in every way. Va'atem oimrim, and you say, Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im oyin. Chayechem she'akelev bo v'noishech eschem. The dog will come and bite you. V'atem tzoyakim li. V'teidu heichon ani. Moshel Adam shehirkiv es b'noi al kseifoy v'yosol aderech. Hoya oise haben roya chayfetz v'oimer. Abba, tul chayfetz zeh v'tein li. V'hu noisen lo v'chein shniya v'chein shlishis. Then pogu b'odam echad. Omru, amaloi oise haben roisa es Abba. Maybe you saw my father. Amaloi oviv eincho yodea heichon ani. I mean, all along the way, I'm giving you everything you want, and now you don't even know where I am. So we see that what brought them to the state of refidim, Rafu Yudayim and Divrei Torah, is really the question, the doubt of Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im oyin. And that's like the Lashon of Chazal, in v'lav v'rafya b'yodei. Yeah, refidim is rafu yedayim. The Gemara says the Lashon, and it's in Shabbos Daf Kuf Yud Gimel, and in many places, in v'lav v'rafya b'yodei. In other words, when something is unclear, when something is in doubt, it's yes and no, and it's rafya b'yodei. It's not, you can't hold on tight to it. So the rifyon yodayim comes from the doubt of Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im oyin. It's the in v'lav that brings the rifyon yodayim. And since we know that the Vayovei Amalek is because of the Matzuse, the Hava Beini Yaakov u Beini Esav about the Bechorah and the Brachas. So it must be that because of this pickbook of Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im oyin, that opens the gates, that enables the taina of Esav for the taking of the Bechorah and the Brachas. In other words, because he's coming for the Bechorah and the Brachas, but otherwise he couldn't do it. And now that Yidden are in doubt, Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im oyin, and they're in a state of rifyon yodayim, here he can come and take revenge for the taking of the Brachas and the Bechorah. So that needs to be explained. The pasuk says, "Vayomer Esav hine anochi hoylech lamus v'lama zeli Bechorah." Rashi says, "Amar Esav, ma tiva shel avodah zu." Yeah, what is this avodah about? Amaloi, kama as horois va'oinshin umisois tluyin bo ka'oiso sheshoninu elu hein shebemisa shsuya yain ufruei rosh. Omar ani hoylech lamus al yoda imkein ma chayfetz liba. I mean, I'm going to die from this. Why should I take it? Why should I have it? So we see that really the root of Esav's downfall was his self-doubt, not being confident about his abilities. He fell into the trap of yira psula. In other words, the wrong type of yira. Yira, the pasuk says in Mishlei, Yiras Hashem l'chaim. Yiras Hashem brings life. The proper Yiras Hashem is makes a person try harder to do the right thing and doesn't paralyze him. But Esav's yira, which is psoilus of the midas hayira of Yitzchok, that's a yira that paralyzes and that destroys. And the Mela, Esav sees himself as a Hoylech Lamus. He doesn't feel that he can do it, and he drops the whole thing. Yaakov Avinu is not a Hoylech Lamus through the Azhorois, the Oinshin, and the Mises Adirab. Yaakov Avinu loimes, Mazari b'chaim, Afu b'chaim. By Yaakov Avinu, the Yira is a Yiras Hashem l'chaim. It's the pure Yira. Yeah, Tahar Yodayim Yosef Oimetz, that gives you Adrabah, courage and strength. And therefore Yaakov takes the Bechorah and the brachas that are connected with the Bechorah, and B'shas, Nasoisom es Hashem, Leimor, Hayesh Hashem v'kirbeinu imoyin, when Yidden themselves come to such a state of being that they doubt, Hayesh Hashem v'kirbeinu imoyin, therefore, Vayovoy Amalek, Vayilochem im Yisrael B'fidim, it's time to stand up against Zera Yaakov, who took the Bechorah. Asher korcha baderech v'yizaniv b'cho kol hanichsholim achrecha v'ato oyev v'yogea v'lo yirei Elokim. Rashi says, kol hanichsholim acharecha chaseirei koyach machmas chetom shehoya ha'onon poiltom. So the simple reading is that because of their chetom, machmas chetom, they were niflat from the onon. And since they weren't in the onon that carried Yidden, so they became chaseirei koyach as they were walking. But it's possible to teach it differently, and we can say that the chetom, the sin, in itself wasn't a reason to be expelled from the onon. It's only because machmas chetom they became chaserei koyach. They despaired, they gave up, they didn't believe that they can correct what they did wrong. That's why the onon was poiled them, and Amalek was mezaniv b'hem, because oiz v'chedva bimkoimoi. And when somebody doesn't have the oiz, when somebody becomes a chosek koyach, yes, so he falls out of mekoimoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is the onon. You know, the Shem Shmuel in Parashas Yisroi, Tov Reish Ayin Hey, writes b'zeh haloshen, v'hainu she'ikir achisorim ba'odam she'enoi makir ma'alas nafshay. The biggest problem that a person has is that he doesn't know the greatness of his own nefesh. Shebe'im hoya meir leneged einov mihu uma ma'alosoi. If he would see who he is and what his greatness is about, lo hoya efshel lovei lidei avera. Elo shechosel la'odam oiz. A person doesn't have oiz. Shehu courage b'loshen Ashkenaz. Courage. U'k'may she'omar ha-Rebbe Rabbinim Zecher Tzadik v'Kodesh Livrocha Mipshische she'shalu. They asked the Rebbe Rabbinim, Ma Shoma Chadoshois B'Hiyoisei B'Danzig. Yeah, before he became a Rebbe, you know, the Rebbe Rabbinim was a druggist. Anyway, he went to Danzig, and when he came back, they asked him, what did you hear in Danzig? So, V'Oma Sheshoma, and this is a quote, Aveidas Momoin Eino Klum. To lose money is nothing. V'Aveidas Courage, He Aveida Bekuloi. Yeah, if you lost the courage, you lost everything. Atkan Dvorov, writes the Shem Shmuel, and he adds, V'zeh Melechus HaYetzer Hara. And that's the work of the Yetzer Hara. V'zeh Mitzudosei Prusa Al Kol HaChaim. Shekashe Nitel Mehem HaKurash, V'Hayodayim Misrashlim, Oz Heima Ki'ir Prusa Ein Choyma. Then they're open and available to every problem. So, the Chaserei Koyach, those Nechsholim, Machmas Chetam, they were Niflat Min HaOnon, and the Vayizanev b'cho kol hanichsholim achrecha v'ata oyev v'yogea v'lo yirei Elokim. What's v'lo yirei Elokim? Rashi says, Amalek. It comes from the Sifri. In other words, that the way you read this pasuk is asher korcha baderech vayizanev b'cho kol hanichsholim achrecha v'ata oyev v'yogea v'lo yirei Elokim goes back to the beginning of the pasuk. It's going on Amalek, not v'ata oyev v'yogea v'lo yirei Elokim. I mean, so Amalek wasn't the Yerei Shemaim. You hear what's going on? I mean, we see what Amalek did, yeah. And we would advise this, we would have a Kasol Kedaitach that maybe Amalek is a Yerei Shemaim. The pasuk says, V'lo Yerei Elokim. I mean, don't think that Amalek is a Yerei Elokim. He's not a Yerei Elokim. I mean, that's what we say about Amalek. I mean, why would we think so? Why would we think he's a Yerei Elokim? But based on what we said, that the root of this Mulchama is in the Matzusa, the Hava, Beini Esav or Beini Yaakov, about the Bechorah. So really, on a superficial level, it would seem like Esav who was afraid of the harbe azharois va'oinshin u'misois atluyim bo, and he was afraid that hine onoichi hoylech lamus al yoda, he's the ultimate Yirei Elokim. So, and Amalek, as we know, is the representative of Esav, and really this Mulchama is about that Bechorah. So we would really think that Esav is the Yirei Elokim. So the pasuk says V'lo Yirei Elokim, because the true Yiras Elokim is Yiras Elokim L'chaim, that doesn't paralyze you and doesn't make you give up the Bechorah. The Mechilta in Parashas B'Shalach says V'lo Yirei Elokim Elu Yisrael. Aval im hayisem Yirei Elokim lo hoya yochoi lecha. So learns also the Chizkuni on the pasuk. So it's again the other side of the same coin. Since Yidden were rafu Yidayim in Divrei Torah, and they were endowed Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu or not, yeah. So that means that the psoilus of Yira stuck to them, and that kind of Yira that brings Yiyush, that makes a person not recognize his abilities and then not recognize his greatness, which is the Yira of Esav, and that put them in a position where Esav, Amalek, was able to attack them. Now, you know, the mitzvah of Schiris Maisa Amalek, which is La'orer Hasina Elav, as the Chinuch says, as the Rambam says, Avada, Poshit, that it's not Soif Davar to hate that particular Ummah, but it's also, and maybe Be'ikr, to hate the evil that is embodied in Amalek, what Amalek represents. And as the Koshnitz Magid writes in the Avodas Yisrael and Parashas Zachor, Kolish Yisrael, Tzorech Limcho Yischelik Hara HaMachuna Amalek Shetamun Beliboy. Now, all the Ummas, I mean, many of the Ummas represent certain stripes of evil. Yeah, the Knani, the Amori, the Chiti, Kemaiseretz Mitzrayim, Lo Yisasu. But nevertheless, it's only by Amalek that we were commanded to remember his Maisa forever and to be Ma'ora the sinner, L'Doras Olam. So it tells us something about the problem of Amalek is above and beyond the problem of all the other Ummos. Based on what we're saying, that Amalek is really the one that preserves the Yira of Esav, which undoes the courage and the strength, and he makes us into Chaserei Koyach Machmas Chetam. So, and that's why he's Reishis Goyim Amalek, because all the Midas Rois that are represented in Knani and Amori and Chiti, all those only take us over after we lose our sense of self and lose the courage to live up to who we ought to be. And like the Rebbe Rabbinim said, that the loss of courage is the loss of everything. And therefore, we are commanded L'Doras Olam to remember what he did. And this also connects with the like we say, the Gemara said, Zikoroin Ma Shekosov B'Neviim. That's one of the three Ma'aroches against Amalek. We have in Torah, we have in Nevi'im, and we have in Ksuvim in Megillas Esther. So what's Kosov B'Nevi'im? That's this week's Haftarah. And what does it say? Vayomer Shmuel, Haloyim Koton Ata Be'inecha, Roish Shiftei Yisrael Ota. Shmuel says to Shaul, you might be small in your own eyes, but Roish Shiftei Yisrael Ota. Vayim Shochacha Hashem LeMelech Al Yisrael. So we see from Shmuel that the Shaul's problem and what held him back from being Moicha Amalek is his feeling that he's a koton. The sense of katnus and shiflus is what held him back from being Mekayim L'Dvar Hashem. The chsorin koyach is what enabled the hemshech hakiyum of Amalek. And as we see Be'emes Shaul all the way back in the beginning, it says that when Shmuel said to Shaul, "Mi kol chemdas Yisrael, haloi l'chol beis avicha." Rashi says chemdas Yisrael is the melucha. What does Shaul respond? He says, "Vayan Shaul vayoyme haloi ben yemini anoichi." I'm a Benyaminite. Miktane shiftei Yisrael, from the smallest of the shiftei Yisrael. It's the last Shevet. Yeah, umishpachti hatzeira mikol mishpachoi shiftei Benyamin. My family is the youngest Of the youngest, yeah, the youngest of Binyamin. V'lama dibarta elai kadovar hazeh. Why are you talking to me like that? I'm Roish, Shiftei Yisrael Ato. Now, it would seem to us like humility, yeah, another. But Shmuel says to him that this is really the yesod of his failure, and in the end, it's the reason that Hashem es mamluchos Yisrael me alecha, and Shaul himself says, as far as Amalek is concerned, ki yoresi es ha'om va'eshma bekoilom. So it's not a coincidence that the ongoing existence of Amalek was enabled by a yira that's out of place and the lack of strength and courage, because that's really the whole inyan of Amalek, Mizera Esav. Yeah, that lacks the strength and the courage, and he undoes our strength and courage. Yeah, so having said that, I mean, I think that the message is clear that, you know, the pshat is like this, that even a Jew that feels that he doesn't know the difference, even if he's in a state that he doesn't know the difference, but nevertheless, he has to understand his greatness, and that the Nes Purim was really to save even those that are lo yoda bein or hamal baruch Mordechai, because that's really, because, you know, in other words, even chas v'sholom, if there's a state of chetam, don't become chaserei koyach machmas chetam, and you won't be niflat from the onon, but have the courage and the belief that you'll get there if you try hard enough, and you'll be able to do it. So that's really the Bahamas. If you look carefully in I just don't have time now to share this with you, but if you look, okay, I'll tell you, in the Hagdama of the Maharal to the Or Chodosh, he talks about the one Mandama says that Yom Kippurim and Purim are einam betelim v'asid lavoi, and one Mandama says that even Yom Kippur will be bottled, but Yemei Purim will not be bottled. So he says why? So he says something astounding. It's on page Memtes. He says, why? Because Yom Kippur maybe not so important. Ki yesh harbe tzadikim she'ein asotin yochel lahem b'nei she'em tzadikim. V'lachein af im lo yiyah Yom Kippurim lo yohya mitziyas ha'odam batel legamri. Because there'll be some tzadikim. Aval Yemei HaPurim mipnei she'hoya chofetz Haman l'chalois hakoil hein tzadik hein Rosha. Haman was going not only after the tzadikim, he was going also after the Rishonim. V'davar zeh hoya ibud legamri. So there would be nobody left. There would be nobody left. So he says, okay, Mishama Yom Kippurim lo yebatul savaki atzadikim heimu otim. But in any case, he says that the greatness of Purim is because Haman was going after not only the tzadikim but also the Rishonim, and Memela, without Purim, there would be nobody left. There would be nobody left. If he would have, if he and Memela. So that's the pshat. Adel yoda bein or hamal baruch Mordechai ve'en kamokim laharich. I want to wish you a guten Shabbos und a freilichen Tamid. Okay, Zayt alle gebencht. No, the carbon Tamid isn't this week's parasha, but it's a Yiddish expression. A freilichen Tamid. It's but you know, it means you should always be happy. Yeah, it's al derech a ganz yo freilich.